If you're buying a house today, you'll be paying almost $1,000 more compared to only 2 years ago. Not because you're getting a bigger house or living in a nicer area, but just because the rate is ridiculously high right now. And this is just one of 3 things that concerns me and should concern anyone else who's looking to buy right now. Now, the number one thing that really concerns me is the age of first-time home buyers in the US. National Association of Realtors, or NAR, found that the share of the first-time home buyers were at the lowest at just 26% of all buyers in 2022. This is down from 34% from the previous year in 2021. And again, this is in the span of only just 1 year. And to provide more context, in 2010, this was at a peak of 50%. Even while then, the typical age of those first-time home buyers were 36 years old, which is also all-time high in 2022, up from 33 years old from the previous year. And if you take a look at this graph, actually, you can see 4 generations along with the percentage of home buyers as they age. And although the difference may be subtle, you can see that each generation is lagging behind the previous generation. Starting with the silent generation at up top, followed by baby boomers, Gen X, and then Gen Y, which is millennials. Now let's focus on around age 31, where it seems like it's the youngest age where you can see all 4 generations. And right off the bat, 43% of millennials own a house at that age. And at the same age, you can see 52% for both Generation X and baby boomers, which bought their first house. But then compare them to the silent generation, it's around 60% of silent generation owned a house by the time they were 31, which is almost 20% better off than the millennials. And a representative from NAR mentions that this may be a combination of historical low inventory, persistent high home prices, and rising interest rate, which brings me to the next topic, which is the high mortgage interest rate that's fueled by high inflation. Now, to battle high inflation rate that's happening and affecting the cost of goods and services in the American economy, the Fed has been aggressively increasing the interest rate that directly affects the mortgage interest rate. And the mortgage rate has gone from 2.77%, which was a historical low in August of 2021, to around 6.43% in the April of 2023, which is just less than 2 years apart. Now let's use a mortgage calculator on Google that would exclude property taxes and insurance, as those will vary widely depending on where you end up living. And this will help to see how much the interest rate difference affects the monthly payments. Now let's take 2022 median household price of $428,700. And if you go with the 30-year fixed rate at 2.77% in the previous 2 years ago, the monthly payment comes out to around $1,755 a month, again without insurance and property taxes. But if we adjust this to the current rate of 6.43%, that monthly rate and payment goes up to $2,690 a month. Now this is a difference of almost $1,000, not because you're getting a nicer place, but only because of the rising interest rate. And the high interest rate may also be affecting the low inventory because people who locked in at 2 or 3% interest rate don't want to actually end up moving and end up paying for that 6 or 7% interest rate. However, the mortgage rate may be unlikely to go back to those 2 or 3% days again because the Feds were actually looking to stimulate the economy during that time with the global pandemic. Now, to set some context, the average historical rate between 1971 and 2023 has been around 7.75% according to Freddie Mac, where the mortgage rate has reached as high as 18.83% in October of 1981 and as low as 2.65% in January of 2021. Now, the third concern for any new home buyer is the home affordability issue, which accounts for both the home prices and the staggering wages. And you can see this in the price to income ratio. And the best way to calculate this is to look at the median cost of a home and compare that to the median income in the US. Now, starting with the median home prices, as kind of mentioned in the previous one, and that has skyrocketed in the last few years, going from $369,800 in 2021 to $428,700 in 2022, which is an increase of $58,900 in just 1 year. Now, according to the Rice University in Texas, price to income ratio is of 3 to 1 is a desirable upper limit. Now, this means that the house you're buying should not cost more than 3 times your annual income. So at the current median home sale price of $428,700, your annual household income should be at $142,900, which is crazy because the median household income in the US is half of that at $70,000. So instead of the upper limit of 3 to 1 ratio, you're close to a price to income ratio of closer to 6 to 1. Now, again, to compare this to how things were just 60 years ago, in 1960, the median home cost around $11,900 and making around $5,600 in an annual income, which indicates a price to income ratio of 2.1. With all of these three problems combined, the increasing age of first-time homebuyers, the high in mortgage interest rate, and the home affordability issue, I'm not actually sure how the average American will be able to afford a home again. But with the talk of recession coming in 2023 and the housing market starting to come down in price in certain areas, it's weird to say, but we could actually maybe hope for a housing crash that can help people to start affording a house once again. And with that, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.